mind is everything. If you don't believe you can do something, then you can't. If you believe that your father was a bum and he left you, or your mother wasn't any good, and therefore you have to walk around as a refugee from that crisis situation for the rest of your life, forever bearing the burden of that experience, then that will be your life. It's like you have to save your own life. Nobody's going to be able to save it for you. So we have to do what we have to do, no matter what it is.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, manga chapter 578. So recently, guys, I've been noticing a little something in this Kingdom community, and it's been startling to say the least. And what it is I've been noticing that there aren't many people who actually like Ouhon. Like his last review, when I was reading the comments, I noticed that there was a lot of Ouhon hate in the comments. And when I really thought about it, I realized that there's like only one person I know of that actually likes Ouhon as their favorite character. Other than that, I don't think I've ever seen anybody out here repping Ouhon. And that's a shame, and here's why. If there's a fandom out here for this turd of a man Heki, then why the hell is there no fandom for Ouhon? The guy has it all. He's strong, he's smart. Yeah, he can be a little bit of a prick here and there, but he makes up for it with the fact that he has 4 freaking swords. He has 4 swords on his back. Even if he never uses them, they're still pretty damn cool. You guys are sleeping on Ouhon, man. Sleeping. And I'm telling you guys, it's about time you start showing this man a little more appreciation.
You smart, you loyal, you grateful. I appreciate that.
Alright, so this chapter picks up at the tail end of the battle that was started last week, and we see that Ouhon and Shin's units are pretty exhausted. You can tell that they left it all on the field in their battles today. And as both sides are withdrawing as the day concludes, we begin to focus in on the Zhao army. In particular, a conversation between Ouhon and Chigaryu. Chigaryu knows that they're nearly out of food and that tomorrow will be their last chance to try anything. So he intends to defy expectations by launching a critical attack against the Shin in order to take out a majority, if not all, of the Shin right wing before true hunger begins to set in, because he also believes that a different type of fervor would be kindled within a group of people who are facing true hunger. And I think he believes that that would be even more problematic, and to be honest, I have to agree with him.
It's really that deep up with Popeyes, you want to leave me?
Yes, I don't want you no more. Because I can't even eat chicken in peace. Shit.
And even though Ouhon seems a bit cautious and asks Chigaryu if he believes that the Shin right wing would fold to them just like that, Chigaryu is confident that if Ouhon doesn't send any aid, then they will be able to mercilessly crush their foes. Speaking of Ouhon, we find ourselves at the center army where messengers from the Akko army have arrived. And this is just sad, man. These guys are legitimately crying for Ouhon's aid. And they're asking if he's unable to assist with men, if he could at least appoint Ouhon as the commander, because even that would assist in at least boosting morale. But we find out that even this tearful plea did nothing to move Ouhon. Meanwhile, back at the right wing, things aren't any better as we see the troops lining up for the first of their final 2 ration distributions. And if we're being real here, man, I don't even think you can consider these rations. I mean, rations to me would be like more of a meal. This here looks like more of a snack. But the men, content just to have some food to eat tonight, didn't complain a bit, which is really saying a lot.
Hi, I'm really not happy. I'd like to make a complaint, please.
Okay then, sir. What's this complaint about?
Well, listen, I've just bought a pizza in Asda's in Merthyr Tydfil. I've just got home. There's absolutely no topping on it. You know, that's my dinner for the night.
Right, there's no topping on it whatsoever?
No, just bread.
Just bread and tomato sauce?
No, not even tomato sauce, just bread. I mean, look at it. It's just... wait. Mate, sorry, I've opened it upside down.
Are you being serious?
Right.
Over at 10, we see that she's struggling to come up with a plan. She's agonizing over it so much because not only does she realize that it's the last day of food, but the other thing that she's beginning to realize is that they've reached a stage where strategy may not even be able to apply to their situation. Just outside 10's tent, we see Sosui and En wondering if they should try to contact Ouhon themselves. And with Shin pondering nearby, suddenly Ouhon arrives. Absolutely sure that Ouhon can't be there to talk to him, he lets him know that 10's inside, but is surprised to find out that Ouhon's actually there to talk to him. And as they step away to talk privately, Shin actually realizes that this is the first time he's had a one-on-one conversation with Ouhon. And what Ouhon has to tell Shin is pretty much 3 things that we already know, which is 1, that he doesn't expect any reinforcements or orders from Ouhon. 2nd, that tomorrow night will be their final food distribution. And 3rd, that gives them 2 days to figure out how to beat the Zhao left wing without having a commander. And even though Shin points out the fact that they know this and that's why 10's pulling her hair out trying to come up with a strategy, Ouhon, just like 10, has realized that the time for battlefield tactics has long since passed, saying that even though the Akko army without a leader has exceeded expectations, they can no longer depend upon them, and that the key to defeating the Zhao's left wing lies in the hands of the Shin unit and Gyokuho units. And since tactics and strategy are no longer of any use, what they need by tomorrow is an awakening of the units. Which Shin is completely confused about, asking Ouhon what does he mean by that. And Ouhon explains that by making each and every one of your troops evolve and reach new heights of strength, your entire unit will have an instantaneous boost as compared to before. And Shin wonders what kind of mumbo jumbo this is, because if this were possible, then everybody would do it. And not only that, he believes that it would be impossible to achieve something like this within a single night. But Ouhon says this is what must be done, because if they can't achieve this, then tomorrow they will be defeated. Considering that they're all out of options and the only people they can rely upon is themselves, Ouhon believes that this is the only path left available to them. But Shin brings up a valid point about how Ouhon expects for him to be able to do something like that when his men have gone through so much training in order to get to this point. How in a single night does he expect them to exceed that level? And Ouhon's answer here is just great, saying how should he know? Doesn't the Shin unit belong to Shin? And Shin's face here just says it all, man. And the funny thing I noticed about this entire conversation is that Shin is sweating profusely while talking to Ouhon. It kind of reminds me of another character we know, and it just shows that putting Shin in a situation where he has to come up with ideas and trying to converse with Ouhon on an equal level, you can just see he's way out of his element.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure. What up?
I've just been noticing that every time I leave to go out, the next time I open the computer, the browser history's been cleared.
That's weird.
Be honest, babe. It's porn, right?
Porn? Oh, pornography? No.
It's okay if you look at porn. I assumed you did anyways. I mean, every guy does. I'm perfectly okay with that, as long as it's not that weird stuff.
And Ouhon goes on to tell Shin that the only one who can awaken his unit is Shin himself, and that he must do it no matter what it takes before the battle begins tomorrow. And as Ouhon's walking away, Shin continues to complain about how impossible this is, but yells for him to wait because he's just thought of something, and he wonders exactly what does Ouhon plan to do to awaken his men. But to the surprise of Shin, Ouhon tells him that as of now, that's exactly what he'll be worrying about, and that it has nothing to do with him, just make sure he gets his part done. And after wondering to himself whether Ouhon's lost it, we find out that both Ouhon and Shin stayed up through the night trying to figure out how to awaken their men, and neither one of them came up with any good ideas. But on the 12th day's morning, right before the battle was to be joined, both the Gyokuho unit and the Shin units would be awakened. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. Alright guys, so to me that was another good chapter of Kingdom. Like, I really went into this chapter with low expectations because I had already heard that it was going to be another setup chapter. But to be honest, I was like pleasantly surprised by this chapter. For a setup chapter, I thought this was really good, and it kind of made me pretty excited about what's to come. And at the end of the chapter, we see that the units have been awakened, right? And since it happened right before the battle started, we're going to have to assume that it's got to be speeches. And what I'm really excited to see is what exactly do these guys say to get their men to awaken? Maybe Shin draws on some of the things he's seen from Oki, and maybe Ouhon uses the rumors that are circulating about him as like a motivational point for his men. But the thing I'd be even more interested to find out is where exactly did Ouhon even come up with this idea? Like, where did he hear about awakenings from? And I'm not sure if Hara's gonna dig any deeper into that, but it'd be nice to get an explanation. But I'm kind of wondering if this actually links to the things that Gi-eun was talking about earlier. And what I'm referring to is earlier in his battle with Shin, Gi-eun brought up something about the strength of a man. And even though this may wind up being something more on an individual level, what made me think about it was when Gi-eun was speaking of Shin inheriting Oki's glaive, and after Shin showed his strength in handling the glaive, Gi-eun did say that he appeared worthy to carry it. But when Shin said, "Isn't that obvious?" he also said that it isn't as simple as you think. It's not all a question about your martial prowess, but rather the important question is if he has the slightest understanding of the strength of a man. So in handling the glaive, it seems like Gi-eun is acknowledging Shin's martial prowess, but what I kind of think that Gi-eun is talking about here is that the glaive also represents something else. It also represents the sign of a leader, and that's why Gi-eun is saying that it isn't that simple. And does Shin have what it takes to bring out the strength of a man? And that may be referring to what he's about to do in the next chapter. And I could be absolutely wrong about that, but I did think it was interesting and it could possibly happen. And another thing we have to ask ourselves about this chapter is, do we think that this is all a part of Osun's plan? Remember way back when Shin was sent to the right side of the battlefield, Ouhon did tell him that this is it, there will be no more help from here on out. So right from the beginning, Ouhon already planned not to give them any more assistance. Even though the situation on the battlefield did change with Akko being injured and everything, it doesn't appear that this development was a big enough issue for Ouhon to want to change his plans in any way. And even though I want to think that Ouhon is doing this on purpose by not allowing Ouhon to be the leader of the whole right wing and forcing them to try to awaken their units, right now I can't buy that because that seems like there's too many variables going on, and Ouhon seems like he wants to have everything within his control. So to me, it seems a bit out of character, but if he's able to predict something like the awakening of Ouhon and Shin's units, then Ouhon is more overpowered than I could have ever imagined. But I have to admit, it was really cool to actually see Ouhon and Shin like chop it up for the first time. Like, we've never gotten to see these two have like this one-on-one conversation. And it just further cements that these two are going to have a different type of bond after this arc. And I really can't wait to see how this conversation they had tonight helps them to awaken their respective units. The other thing I wanted to talk about in this chapter is something that doesn't have to do with this chapter in particular at all. But since it kind of has to do with the timeline, I wanted to bring it up. And that's the fact that if the right wing is now down to 1 day of food, then that also means that Kanki's army is down to 1 day of food. And the reason that that's important is because Marin did make Kanki promise that when they got down to a single day's worth of rations, that they would lift their siege on Gyo and immediately withdraw. And Kanki, probably believing that it would never get to that point, did agree to this. And seeing that we finally now gotten to this day, I'm curious to see what Kanki actually did. In a more recent chapter, he was complaining about there being nowhere to run to, but I did want to still bring it up because we did finally reach Marin's time limit. So yeah, we'll definitely be seeing what'll happen, but for now, let's move on to the comment of the week. And this week's comment comes from John Bees. And what he has to say is, in chapter 407, To gave Shin a hint how generals treat 5,000 man commanders, and look how Ouhon is treating them now. And man, this was such a good comment, because if you go and read chapter 407, a lot of it is about the rank of 5,000 man commander. And it's also talking about how To actually played a role in keeping Ouhon from skipping a rank and going directly from 3,000 man commander to general. And a lot of it was because he believed he needed to experience a lot of the things that come with being a 5,000 man commander. Because as he says, the rank of 5,000 man commander is not merely a stepping stone to the rank of general. It is from now on that one must learn to stop relying on others while still being able to achieve results. And what's so amazing about that is that it's actually happening right now. So shout out to John Bees, because that was a great catch and a great comment. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.